Katie. So always first, thank you to Katie for her time and help and work in orchestrating this and being our moderator tonight or facilitator tonight. This is the Sunnyside United Neighbors West Mount Scott CPO meeting. If you don't know what a CPO is made up of an unincorporated area of Clackamas County. The CPO is the voice to Clackamas County government, typically on land use issues. But most recently, since in our CPO, there are very few development issues, we communicate more about what's just happening in our neighborhoods with each other. And then on a broader scale, we have also been involved in emergency management and wildfire response. We meet 3 times annually. This is our last meeting for 2021. In 2022, we'll be meeting in March, in August, and November. In our March meeting of next year, we will have elections for board members. If you'd like to be a board member, if you'd like to get active in the community, if you'd like to be the video or Zoom facilitator, please let us know. We are I'm not going to use the word desperate, but we're eager to get more help. So please keep us in mind as you're thinking. It's not a huge time commitment. We meet 3 times a year. And the board will meet maybe 6 times a year. Now, if you include this, it's 6 times a year. So please think about that. On the board, myself, I'm Mike Sebule, I'm the chair. Co-chair is Dave Gillum. Earl Culberson is our secretary. Earl's the guy who's in jail. Carolyn is a board member at large who provides some valuable input. Mary Masterson manages our email distribution list, and we're very grateful for all that she does. Tonight, we're fortunate to have 4 different speaker groups. Philip Mason Joyner is returning again. Thank you, Philip. And he's director of Clackamas County Public Health. We've got the sheriff with us tonight, along with the new chief of police for the city of Happy Valley. Thank you. Thanks to 2 of you. Thirdly, we've got the new superintendent of the North Clackamas School District, Dr. James. So thank you for joining us tonight, along with Dr. Shelley. Shelley, can I get your help? I'm going to try. No, I'm not even going to try. How do I pronounce your last name correctly?
Reggiani.
I would have guessed that.
All right. Nice job.
I practiced it, but I thought, no, I'm now in front of people. I don't want to screw it up. So I'm just going to stick with Dr. Shelley. So, and then we've also got
Shelley is just fine. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we also have the North Clackamas Park and Rec District representatives. There are 4 of them with us tonight to talk about and to seek our input on what they do. So with that, so the format tonight is the meeting will go no longer than 90 minutes. We will end at 8:30, if not before. Each of our presenters has about 20 minutes. And of that time, they will use whatever portion they want for their presentation. The remaining time will be open for questions from you who are joining us tonight. And Katie's described how it is that you can ask your questions by raising your hand or putting it in chat. And with that, we'll get started. Well, first, I've got to, last time we did this, the only common thread throughout these 3 meetings this past year has been Philip. And Philip, so first introduction. Philip's worked for Clackamas County Public Health for 8 years before becoming director of public health in June of last year. Previously had a variety of leadership roles in Multnomah County Health Department, Oregon Health Authority, OHSU, and Benton County Health Department. As we started this year, we were hot and heavy in COVID. We are still hot and heavy in COVID. And Philip was the last speaker by draw in that time. And the next time I promised Philip he could go first. Philip was busy. He couldn't come first. So he presented second. And at that meeting, as I was introducing him, I thought of all the presenters that we have, everyone's job is important. Everyone plays a critical role in Clackamas County. But I could not think of that at that time or tonight, anyone whose job changes on a dime more than Philip's. The way the advisories change, the rules change, the vaccines change, and how the heck he keeps on top of it and smiles and still has time to join us. So with that, Philip, I'll hand it off to you. And thank you. The original idea we invited Philip tonight was COVID's going to be gone. We're no more COVID. We're done. Philip was going to talk about the other things that Clackamas County Health does. Well, I'm thinking Phil's presentation is going to be a little bit of a mixture tonight, perhaps. And with that, Philip, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. And Mike, oh my gosh, you give the most lovely introductions. I just have to give you props. I do so many Zoom meetings and you are just a breath of fresh air, especially after a long Monday with a lot of folks with Halloween hangover. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Glad to be back. Yes, I wish I was saying pandemic over. So I will give a little bit of a COVID update, but primarily sharing some information about the other work that your local public health department does to keep our community healthy and safe. So I'm going to share my screen. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can see? All right, wonderful, wonderful. Well, great to be back again. Here is the weekly case data that I often show every single week since the start of the pandemic back in March of 2020. We're on a jagged decline. So week to week, we continue to see it goes down and then up a little bit. And I think that trend of the OHSU forecast looks like that is going to continue. So my notes tonight with this is the most up-to-date data as of a couple days ago is do not be alarmed. This was anticipated. We have a lot of folks returning to regular activities. COVID spreading in the community, it's cold and flu season, folks have symptoms. There's a lot of demand for testing right now. As you know, kids are back in school full time. We're still seeing hospitalizations. Really, hospitals, I would say, are busy, not necessarily with COVID patient, but just busy in general due to a variety of different issues, including staffing shortages. So we continue to just do our best to move forward and deal with this pandemic and the impacts at hand, and provide the education and the guidance to our partners and to our community members to do what we can to slow the spread, while also trying to address all the other social, economic, emotional impacts that have adversely affected our communities in the past year and a half. There is a lot of interest right now around boosters. Right now, boosters are approved for individuals who are 65 and older, folks who have underlying health conditions, and folks who work in high-risk settings. Initially, it was Pfizer that was authorized first, but now Moderna and Johnson & Johnson have joined them. I would say at this point, I mean, we're seeing at our Clackamas Town Center in the mall, at our clinic, we've seen a big uptick. We were vaccinating maybe 12 to 20 folks every day. Now, last Friday, we had 250 people we served. We were busy all day long with a line out the door, just at our little retail clinic at the mall.
Also, of the 250, what's the breakdown between first vaccine and third vaccine?
Most right now are boosters, but we are still doing probably 10 to 15% each day is first and second doses.
Okay.
Vast majority right now, though, is folks wanting boosters. And then you may have seen in the national news that the FDA is moving forward with approvals for younger children, age 5 to 11, being eligible for the vaccine. There's still some additional steps that need to happen. The CDC director has to approve it. Then it goes to the Western states for review, then to the Oregon Health Authority before we can start providing those vaccines locally for those populations. And we have been working with our local school district partners. It's nice to see Dr. Shea here tonight. We've been working with all of our school partners on custom plans and approaches to provide the vaccine for younger age groups in a kid-friendly environment for those who choose to get the vaccine. So that's my COVID update. Now, the other things that I get a lot of joy about talking about, we, since I become public health director back in June of 2020, we've been working all this time for a new plan, recognizing that we are, your local health department staff are stretched with so much going on around the emergency and the pandemic. But we recognize the need to take the time to develop a really meaningful strategic plan. And we have been rolling that out very slowly and very intentionally with a new focus centering on really trying to up our game around being more culturally responsive and applying a racial health equity lens to the work that we do. Really trying to be much more external with stronger communications and community outreach, and also having good assurance around how we measure our performance, how we communicate about the work that we're doing to show that we're really good stewards for the public dollar. So that plan starts in January of 2022. I'm really excited. We've made some good operational changes to apply the lessons that we've learned during the COVID response. And my hope is that this vision will really move us forward to serve the community and be a really great partner as we move forward. This is how we're entering 2022. So you get a little sneak peek of our new structure of Clackamas County Public Health. So we have we are transitioning to have 6 program areas with a variety of different services under each of them. I'll just touch on a few. Our Access to Preventive Health program, that's really focused on the maternal child health population, recognizing that young families need that healthy start in order to have lifelong good health. The Women, Infant, and Children's program, WIC, is our largest program by far that you may be familiar with. We also have a home visiting nursing team that goes out and sees families at their home. This is also where child immunizations live for our program. So not just COVID vaccine, but all the other vaccines. And also there's over 47 reportable infectious diseases that require contact tracing and disease investigation. Our infectious disease control and prevention team does that work. Public health emergency services, so not just responding to emergencies, but also preparing for them. Being, either a lead for a global pandemic or being more of a support agency to help with any health impacts of any natural disaster, such as the wildfires and the ice storm we had last year. Our environmental health program, which I have a slide next to just sort of highlight and feature them and the great work that they do. Our Center for Population Health, which is really focused on our partnership work, doing projects out in the community. A lot of our funding is focused on chronic disease prevention efforts. We receive a lot of tobacco prevention dollars focused on those efforts to reduce the use of tobacco through policy work. We also have quite a bit of federal funding focused on the opioid crisis that we work with a lot of partners around the county on. And then vital stats. So every birth certificate and every death certificate's processed through our office, so folks can get those documents that they need. We are accredited, so we're very, very proud of that. We were one of the first 3 local health departments in Oregon to receive that national recognition, and it really does a rigorous audit, I would say, that really shows that your Clackamas County Public Health is aligned with best practice for doing the good hard work, and we have put it all together and had experts review us from top to down, inside out, and confirm that we're really providing quality services for Clackamas County. So here's just one program I wanted to feature. I think, behind the scenes public health work doesn't always get noticed, but this is kind of backbone public health, so important to the work that we do to keep communities healthy and prevent disease outbreaks. So we license over 1,600 businesses in Clackamas County. We inspect all the restaurants, the food trucks, vending machines, any temporary events that serve food, all the child cares, our school cafeterias, hotels, motels, RV parks and camps, all the public swimming pools, and all the small drinking water systems. Clackamas County actually has the most small drinking water systems of any county in the state, 322 of them. We have one drinking water specialist that inspects every single one of those twice a year. Most restaurants are inspected twice a year. And when it's not COVID times, we receive about 125 complaints. Food, you may have seen, oh gosh, I don't even remember, on KATU, they used to have where you would call Kyle and you complain about a restaurant or something like that. Our inspectors sort of do that work. The last year, just because of mask mandates and COVID concerns, that number has quadrupled in terms of the number of complaints that have come in, just concerned residents about facilities that we inspect. So just want to share that as an example of some of the work our programs do. Right now, something happening is the work of our Center for Population Health. They oversee the county's community health improvement plan. That plan is required in state statute, state law. It's approved by the Board of County Commissioner. I see it as our external strategic plan. What is the work that public health does externally that we recognize the local health department can't do it all? Some of these community health needs and concerns, it takes a coalition, it takes lots of partners coming together, working together to make a collective impact. And we do that through this community-driven plan that's based on looking at all of our data around health disparities and a lot of qualitative data that we collect through surveys and focus groups. Right now, I'm very thankful that we're one of the few counties in the state that actually provides grant funding to help support implementation of this plan. And we have $400,000 available for partner organizations, coalitions, and other groups that you can apply right now. It's a really short application. If you can connect the project that you want to do, if it can serve Clackamas County communities, there's funding available right now for up to $75,000 per project. And if you want to learn more about that, we have our blueprintclackamas.com website, which is very user-friendly. It's got a lot of great information. You can apply online tonight. I encourage you to share it with your colleagues and your friends, or any organizations that you work with in Clackamas County. I recognize that there's so much going on this fall. I've heard from a lot of partner organizations that, applying one more grant is a challenge. There's just so many funding and grants and expectations on everybody right now. We're trying our best to make this easy, a value added, low barrier, get some resources and some funding to act on some work, because we certainly know that the impact from COVID-19 are significant. The additional work that we need to do to improve the health of communities doesn't stop. And we want to put some money and resources to it. So that's all I have today. I was fairly short, hoping that there's time for any questions.
Philip, thank you. We've got about 5 minutes for questions. Katie, or is there anyone that has questions for Philip?
There's not currently anyone who has their hand raised, and there's nothing in chat at this point. So,
well, let me ask some questions then, because if nothing else, Philip knows I always have questions. Thank you for the presentation. The little graphic on your second to last page, your infographic, some startling numbers there that eye-opening in a number of different ways. So thank you for that. So two questions, and they're two different tangents. So one question is, what is the most common request that your team receives? And the other message is kind of a farewell message for tonight, is what's the message you'd like to leave us with? If you left us with one thought you wanted to make sure we left here with, other than thanking you, what would that be? So those are my two questions. Most common request, and what do you wish we remembered after tonight's presentation?
I think it's so hard to say what the most common request is. I think it's really dependent on the program. I tried to feature environmental health and show just the number of concerns we receive and that we follow up on. For our women, infants, and children program, I think there's a lot of, that's a federal program with a lot of requirements around the benefits and how you can use your food benefits or not. And we get lots and lots of questions about that. that staff follow up on. So it really just depends. I think it's all over the board. It's hard to say this is the number one concern or question that we get. And I'm trying to think about something outside of COVID right now. Number one question for COVID is isolation and quarantine questions specific to individuals, for sure.
Gosh. Well, Philip, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. We appreciate you being here. Board, do you have any questions for Philip? And with that, I'll say thank you again for taking the time. If you want to drop, you're welcome to. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to do that as well.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Philip. Much appreciated. So with Philip, so next up, and I forgot to do this with Philip, and that is, I'm going to leave it up to speakers to monitor their own time. If we get to 20 minutes, then I'm going to say, then I will interrupt. But beyond that, yeah, Grover, I'll do that. Anyway, have Katie turn off your video. There we go. That would work. Anyway, let's not go down that path. So our next speaker, when we think of the next two different presenters, the sheriff and the school district, there is way too much information that they have and way too many questions that we have that can be covered in 20 minutes. I know that, I recognize that. So think of the presentation from the sheriff's office and from the school district tonight to be an introduction, and that we will invite them back in 2022 where they can have more time and you can have more time to ask them questions. So with that, brief introductions. Sheriff Brandenburg was elected this past year. She's been at the sheriff's office for 28 years. Also served in the Oregon Army National Guard. She's had a variety of jobs in the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, including a reserve deputy, a patrol deputy, civil deputy, a patrol sergeant, a civil sergeant, civil commander, as well as the public information director, member of search and rescue, and SWAT teams. Sheriff, I hope you don't have to have cards for each of those different jobs. As a taxpayer, that would piss me off, the amount of money we would pay on cards for you. And then also we have someone new with us tonight, and that's Lieutenant Rich Sheldon. When last we met, we had Scott Anderson was the chief of the Happy Valley Police Department, and Scott retired at the end of June, and Rich stepped into that role. We're lucky to have Rich. He brings with him, he's been with law enforcement since 1998, started as a cadet with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, worked Marine Patrol Civil Process. He's been a patrol sergeant, worked in the contract city of Wilsonville, and a variety of other jobs and responsibilities during his time with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. So we're delighted to have the two of you here tonight. Rich did provide us the same report that Scott did on crimes in Clackamas County or in our CPO area, and Mary Masterson will send out in an email after the meeting tonight. We don't have time to go over it this evening. So with that, Sheriff and Chief, I'll hand it off to the two of you. And thank you, and welcome.
Thanks for having us. I'm going to try and share my screen. I'm going to hopefully, oh, you have it disabled. Is there a chance I can share my screen?
I just set you up. You should, if you click it again.
Thank you. Let me try that again here. Let's see here. Is this the right one? That's the question. Let me find the right one here. There it is.
There we go.
It is. Okay, you guys can see that okay?
We got it.
Awesome. All right. Woohoo. All right. First challenge down. So I'm gonna thanks for having us tonight. I really appreciate it. This is one of the highlights of the job that I get to have, is to come out and to show you what we do and talk with you about what's happening in the sheriff's office. I'm going to do this globally because I don't think a lot of folks have understand how big the sheriff's office operations are. I'm going to zip through this because we only have a certain amount of time. Earl, I apologize. It's going to look really familiar to you. I talked to the Clackamas Rotary, I think it was last week. But I'm just going to zip through this. Rich, you can feel free to jump in if you want to add anything else, but I'm going to hopefully play from the beginning. All right. Oh, there we go. All right. So sorry about that. The mission of the Sheriff's Office is to provide excellent public safety services to you, the people of Clackamas County, so you can experience a safe and secure community. Fairly simple mission, one that you would somewhat expect from a law enforcement organization. To give you an idea, the scope of what we have here as the County of Clackamas and law enforcement services, we're about the size of Delaware. It's helpful to have that in your mind because it's huge and very diverse. We have urban and rural, and then a mix in between, and we are growing. 2 major interstates, which is important in law enforcement because that is a somewhat of a way of folks that can do crime, especially if it's drugs. And so major interstates throughout our jurisdiction is important to us because we know that there's sometimes bad people use that to get around. So lots of roadways. We have waterways, which we have a marine unit. We work in partnership with the Oregon State Marine Board. They provide quite a bit of funding for us to be able to ensure the waterways in the county are safe. So in Mount Hood is the 2nd most climbed mountain in the world. The Sheriff's Office by statute is required to provide search and rescue services, although they're not funded by the legislature. And so we, the sheriff, I am in charge of those. We do that with a combination of nonprofit partners who go out and help us, as well as our Clackamas Search and Rescue, our group that does that. So 98% of the folks that we in Oregon, the sheriffs in Oregon rescue, are from out of state. So that gives you an idea of how much commerce comes in, folks from tourism. So we have about 456 full-time employees. 343 of those are sworn, 113 are civilian. And this, just to give you, I'm zipping through this because I want to get through it. Some of the things that we provide here, the services we provide, and of course we have contract the city police department operations.
Sheriff,
Yep.
are the slides supposed to be changing or are they static?
They're supposed to be changing. They're changing on mine.
We're only seeing the very first slide.
Okay, let's try this again. Hold on just a moment. Is that working?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
We now see the mission. Why don't you catch up to where you are? We're seeing the
Yeah,
mission.
I've got about 3 screens going here. So this, okay, so this is the correct one. All right. There we are.
Yep, got it.
Okay, hey, thanks. All right, so these are a variety of things that we services we provide here at the Sheriff's Office. And then, of course, our contract city police department operations, Wilsonville being our longest contract city, city of Happy Valley, and also Estacada. So our patrol division, this is what we, where we're at currently with our Q3 stats. So far this year, 38,558 calls for service. We typically run about 77,000 calls. This does include our contract cities. So we're on par to outpace our calls for service last year. And then some other stats here that 74 search and rescue call outs, and then our SWAT and crisis negotiation teams call outs 20. Our patrol division so far right now, our top crimes that have been reported to us are these. Theft is the top, criminal mischief, and our stolen vehicles actually are on pace. We're about 25% up from last year this time. So stolen vehicles, I know that I saw an article that the city of Portland has, they're going crazy. That is also bleeding over here to our county as well. So they're 25% up of stolen vehicles from last year this time. So this gives you an idea of our calls for service. And this is current. We'd like to see more green. Green is where we're able to have some discretionary time to get out into the community and do the, walking through businesses and talking with folks and doing the community-oriented policing that we'd like to do. So instead of responding to calls for service. And I'm going to be updating these numbers here in the next couple of weeks, but it costs a lot to train up a deputy, to outfit them, and it takes about 18 months for a brand new recruit to go through the academy, go through our extensive training. That's if they pass our background process and our screening process, which is very rigorous. So it gives you an idea here. Our investigations division, we do all of these things here. Like I said, I'm just going to zip through it pretty quickly. We do financial property crimes and other things, homicides, violent crime. So this is as of current here, that gives you an idea of the crimes that we investigate. Our property and evidence room is a very large building that's up near the Red Soils, or at the Red Soils campus. And they curate about 70,000 items. Some of these items in this facility will never, ever be purged. Crimes related to murder and that sort of thing. So it's a very large building. It's very interesting up there. So our Clackamas County Interagency Drug Task Force is supported with funds from our levy, which thanks to the citizens, passed the levy to continue the funding for this team, and we added some other services. I have some slides down towards the end of this presentation. I know that was one of the questions, Mike. But our drug task force team goes after high-level offenders, drug trafficking organizations, and folks that bring these drugs into our community. So I'm sure that Philip can talk about fentanyl. Fentanyl is just has gone crazy here since about 2019. Our overdoses on fentanyl have gone up and our fentanyl pills seized. The last slide I had was a slides for about a 4-year period of the work of our interagency drug task force. It was 2,000 for a 4-year period. This is Q3 this year. So, and this is of what we seize. There's a lot more that's out in the community. These folks are targeting our children online through Snapchat. So that's a whole another presentation in itself. A Safe Place Family Justice Center. This is one of the great things we have in our community, and another chance for us to come out and talk, Mike. I can have someone come out and give a presentation. I was the director for 5 years before becoming undersheriff, and it's a fantastic resource for our community. We work in partnership with 10 public and nonprofit partners to help folks who are impacted by family violence, sexual violence. And we have culturally specific services and advocacy. You don't have to report to law enforcement, although it is a law enforcement led family justice center. However, it is a menu of choice. And like I said, people don't have to report in order to get help and services. In fact, law enforcement won't know that someone's there unless they explicitly give written permission. And so it's a fantastic resource. And I would love to have someone come out and give you a presentation on that.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
One of the amazing things about, if you go back one slide.
Yep.
One of the amazing things about this facility is it's a one-stop shop. That if a single parent or if someone, they go there and there are a variety of different resources. They're not shuffled around from building to building to appointment. It's all in one safe space.
Yeah, so typically if someone is experiencing violence and has to get a restraining order, needs support, needs some help to pay the rent or to get counseling, it's all done here. And it's fantastic. In fact, Rich also was the director there before I stole him for Happy Valley. And it is just a fantastic resource. We have a remote hookup with the courts. And so if someone wants to file for a protection order, they don't have to step foot at the Clackamas County Courthouse where their abuser potentially would know where they're at to file for this protective order. So they can do it from the safety and with the help of advocates up at a Safe Place Family Justice Center. So it's fantastic, but I'd be happy to have the current director, Aaron Hinkleman, come and talk with you all about that as well, if you would like, for a future meeting.
Thank you.
So our jail is aging. It's built in 1958. It has a 465 jail bed capacity. That's pre-COVID. So we have gone down to single celling because of COVID. So we're at 56 bed capacity due to COVID. So we've done a great job. Our jail commander, Lee Eby, has done a great job helping to keep COVID out, working in partnership with public health and Dr. Present. And so it's been a challenge, and we can't wait till we're on the other side of COVID. That'd be fantastic. But we do great work there. There's many programs that we do. We recently, in 2021 here, the National Commission on Correctional Healthcare accredited us with the opioid treatment program. We started that in 2019 with a grant, and it helps folks who are experiencing opioid withdrawals to manage that within the jail, also do a warm handoff out into the community, all with the goal of hopefully not seeing those folks again. So we're one of just a handful of jails throughout the United States who have that program going for us. So these are mental health folks who are afflicted with mental health conditions while they're in the jail is a very big topic for us. Currently, almost 50% of folks who are housed in our jail, those are folks who are sentenced, who are awaiting trial that can't be released, take medications for mental health conditions. We know that folks who come through there, last year, only about 10.64% of those folks reported current mental health needs at intake. And then we identified additional needs as they are in the facility. We work in partnership with Health, Housing, Human Services for mental health. We have a doctor that comes in, and so we have a lot of folks who are affected with mental health disorders and the like. And so it's a big topic for us. So unfortunately, one of the things I know that questions was, what are some of the things that keep you up at night? This keeps me up at night. There are folks who are in our jail that really don't belong in the jail. And we need to figure out as a community how we can figure out to divert those folks before they come and become a problem in the criminal justice system and get help before that happens. Because by the time it happens, they have to come through the criminal justice system, and that's not really a place where those folks belong. So that is a huge need in the community, is mental health services to divert those folks that are coming through our jail. So our public safety levy, I talked a little bit about that. I think that was one of the questions Mikey had. We really appreciate the voters having the faith and confidence in us that we are using your dollars wisely. So the levy will continue to fund 84 jail beds. That's 30 deputies who are needed to staff that, 18 patrol deputies. This is our specialized drug team that I talked to you about, who sees those quantities of fentanyl. They do great work going after the drug traffickers. And then, so that was the continued funding from the 2016 levy. In addition to that, you will also voted to approve funding for 16 patrol deputies that'll be out on patrol, 6 additional jail deputies to open our 26 mental health and medical jail beds. Those beds are up at the jail and need those deputies in order for us to open. We have a huge need, like I talked about previously. We will add 5 detectives for some the person's crimes that are listed here. And then also we'll be implementing a body worn camera program, which is a long time coming. And then also 2 internal affairs investigators that'll replace. We have 2 sworn employees who do those investigations currently. They'll return to the detective division. So my priorities for 2021 is we completed an independent financial condition assessment that's located on our website. That was done through the internal auditors, independent auditors office here with the county. Like I said, that's on our website if you want to take a look at that. We're working on a staffing study for our operations to ensure we're using our funds wisely. That should be coming out here shortly. And then our strategic business plan, which is a work in progress. And that's how we're able to gather some of these stats that we're sharing with you tonight. Really trying to work on data-driven information to really guide our operations and put our people where we need to be the most effective. And like I said, a body worn camera program, we're rolling that out this month with a pilot group of folks. We're working through our policies and procedures and working with the DA's office because that's new for them for implementing the video for the district attorney's office to use for evidence in court. So I've ripped through that pretty quickly. I don't know how much time I have, Mike, because I'm terrible with that. So
About 3 minutes, Sheriff. Thank you.
All right.
So staffing, you talked about a number of number of different deputies and variety of roles. You talked about hiring additional deputies. What's the current gap between the total number of positions that are available to be funded and how many positions do you have filled?
So we don't get funding from the levy funded positions until the new tax collections next year. So it won't come onto the 22-23, we won't realize that funding. So currently, because of retirements and just people leaving, we're not immune to what's happening in the world. And there was a article today talking about people are leaving their employment. So law enforcement is no different. It's a challenging environment. Some folks are deciding this isn't the work for them, or they're retiring. So our current stats, and we're doing pretty good because we've been recruiting like crazy. We're hiring our lateral deputies or officers, which are great because they come pre-trained. So a brand new recruit takes 18 months once they pass backgrounds, to go through the police academy and to go through our training. But we have currently, we've hired 17 recruit deputies, 9 lateral, which are the trained in-state folks. And we are on pace to hire probably 30 by the end of this year. So one of the questions was, how many positions do we have open? So we have 4 open in patrol, 6 open at the jail, 4 at our civil, which is the courthouse, 5 detectives, and then 4 command staff. But we are currently recruiting for those, and we hope to be in a good position by the time our levy funding comes available and that we continue our funding so we can get those going as soon as possible.
Sheriff, you're a fast speaker. That's very much appreciated because you've got 2 minutes left. Katie, are there any questions from others?
There are not currently any hands raised, and there's nothing in chat.
Okay. Sheriff, could you talk about the Enhanced Law Enforcement District and what does that mean? Portions of the CPO are in the Enhanced Law Enforcement District. Other parts of our CPO are not. What is the difference in service to those 2 different areas?
So the Enhanced Law Enforcement District has been around since 1995. It was a special district where revenues collected for law enforcement patrols in your neighborhood. And if you look at, so there is an ELED or Enhanced Law Enforcement District tab on our sheriff's website. I think it's also on the county site that has a map, and you'll see that it's smatterings throughout the county, but mainly it's really in this area where we have high density folks, right? High density neighborhoods. So there are, when you get patrols, you'll have patrols from ELED deputies, a levy funded deputy, or general fund funded deputies. So, and primarily the Enhanced Law Enforcement District deputies are in this area that you pay a little extra more for the enhanced patrol. That makes sense.
Okay. Well, thank you. Board, any questions for the sheriff or for Rich? Or for our police chief? Well, with that, I'll say thank you. And Rich, thank you so much for getting that report. That's fascinating information, but clearly not enough time to go over it tonight, but at a future meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, Sheriff, I would ask this typically of you because that would be appropriate, but I feel bad that Rich didn't say anything tonight other than say, okay, thank you. So Rich, as the sheriff's presentation winds down, what's the message you'd like us to leave with? No pressure. Your boss is here.
No, it's kind of an easy thing to leave you with, and I think the sheriff did a really good job. One thing we're asked right now, I feel like, to do a lot with a little, and so but I really want to leave the message that the people that are out, you see those police cars driving through your neighborhood, those are the guys and gals that are out there doing that work, and they're doing an excellent job. And I think a lot of what the sheriff showed today is reflective of that. So that's what I'd like to leave it with.
Right, Chief, thank you. Thank you so much. Sheriff and Chief, if you guys want to drop off, you're more than welcome to. If you want to stay, you're welcome to as well. So your call. And with that, we'll now shift to the North Clackamas School District. Dr. James, I've heard you identify just 3 different ways tonight. I've heard Dr. James, I've heard Superintendent James, and I've heard Dr. Shea.
Shea is just fine.
Okay, well, Shea is the superintendent of the North Clackamas School District. She does have her doctorate, so it's important to identify that. She's 21 years of educational experience, joined North Clackamas in 2016. She's been Assistant Superintendent of Education and Executive Director of High School Programs. Prior to her work here, she's worked in Portland Public Schools as a teacher, assistant principal, vice principal, principal, and senior director of high schools and college and career readiness. Also, we've got Shelley here tonight. And in preparing for this meeting, Shelley and I learned that we are both early starters. So we had conversations as early as 7:30 in the morning as we were getting ready for this meeting. So Shelley, thank you for taking the time to have that conversation.
Of course.
Well, a lot of people are, anyway. So Shelley also has her doctorate. Her role at Clackamas County, or in the school district, is she's Executive Director of Equity, Community Engagement, and Communications. And she's been, wow, 27 years with North Clackamas. Way to go, Shelley. In a variety of different roles and responsibilities, from middle school language arts teacher, principal of Clackamas Elementary, Happy Valley Elementary, Director of English Language Development Programs, and Executive Director of Instructional Services. So with that, I'll say thank you. The concept here again tonight is an introduction. They've not had a presentation from the school district in a few years. And so I look forward to hearing about updates from both of you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And we look forward to coming back sometime as well. I was thinking about, as you were talking about the sheriff and multiple business cards, that was Shelley she always has a lot of different titles and kind of just plugs those holes where we need. So I only one business card, Shelley. So I was chuckling over that as well. So thank you for welcoming us. As you can imagine, we are thrilled to be back in school after last year and changing multiple different education models. And it's been a really big, heavy lift for us to get here. It's taken lots of work and lots of partners, some of them here tonight, the sheriff, lieutenant, our Clackamas County Public Health, and so many more helping us to open up our doors. It's been a team effort to get school up and running and to maintain that each and every day. We have welcomed back over 17,000 students into our classes in some sort of way, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we currently have over 2,100 staff members, team members of North Clackamas that work for us to provide the best education as they can for students. So I think we'll go ahead and skip the next slide because you already introduced us. And so I think folks have learned a little bit about us in the sake of time. But really want to say that we started out our school year in terms of thinking about the time that we were spending in our buildings and community, welcoming our new teachers, welcoming our returning teachers, and centering ourselves. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a minute. Shelley, the way the slides are set up is I'm seeing Google documents on the left side, and I'm seeing the slide that the superintendent is speaking about partially. There we go. So now I see part of that slide.
Okay, I'm going to reshare and see if that helps.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Perfect.
There you go.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Thanks for helping us out here. So as we came back, we really wanted to center ourselves around renewing, resetting, and recommitting to our students, our parents, and our community. And so we took time to discuss what renewal meant to us so that we were able to address the academic, social, and emotional needs of our students that were coming to us this year. And really our enrollment went right back up this year. Last year we were down due to the pandemic. We're up more than 300 elementary students. We're up 150 students at kindergarten and 150 at middle. We're up 300 students in high school. And I will also say that over this last year, we stood up an online program. We had never really done that before. We have our Clackamas Web Academy, which does online, but we also needed another option for students and for families who could not get into that. And so this year we have doubled the number of students that are participating in that option. And we have over over 800, almost 900 students that are participating virtually and online, and our charter schools have remained fairly stable. Go ahead. Next
All
slide.
right.
Thank you. One of the things that we're very appreciative about from our community is the passing of the capital construction bond, and that passed in 2016. This bond has touched almost every single building in our district in some capacity, in some manner, and we're really nearing the end of the work that has been done. We've been so proud of our staff who continue to deliver on time and on budget despite the challenges that they're facing with lack of staff, supply chain issues, unexpected happenings, extreme weather events, fires, and some different things. And so really, as we have moved throughout the year, we've just really needed to take time to say a special thank you to our community and to folks who are doing this work. One thing that we're really proud of that you see here is that we've been able to put up augmentative playground signs in every single one of our elementary playgrounds that we have in our system, in our district. And this has been something that really has allowed for more inclusivity of students that maybe are nonverbal out in recess that need to tell us something. And in the past, we haven't always been able to get that information in a timely fashion. And so this is just an example of something that has also not a small thing, but that has had a significant impact for students across our system. And as some of you may have been involved, we had a very special ribbon cutting ceremony for our newest 4th comprehensive high school, Adrian C Nelson. And so here you see a beautiful competition-sized gym. This gym is stunning, really, truly. We named it the courthouse. So Adrian C Nelson, Supreme Court Justice. That's been kind of fun. And the wrestling room, I kind of chuckle every time I hear this, is now titled the Full Nelson. So I keep telling the kids, I can't wait to see what other clever names they're going to come up with and fun things. But we'd like to show you a small clip of the ceremony. And if you want to watch the full ceremony, it is on our Facebook page as well, but we'll go ahead and show you. Not getting any sound, Shelley.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I am not sure how to change that, Shay. I apologize. Can you
Okay.
hear that a little bit better?
No,
No sound.
you have your volume up.
I do. I'm not sure why that is not. Yeah, I can hear it on
Okay.
my end, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's okay. So this is just it's a couple minute clip of really where we were introducing the school to our community, kind of sharing the beauty of what it means. We had amazing speakers. We had Justice Nelson herself. And then the community and students and our families were able to go into our building and tour the facility and see what it is that has been brought to your community and to our community that's there. So. But if you have not had a chance to see it, get out there and see it. It is a stunning site. Excitingly, another one of our largest funded projects in our capital bond was Milwaukee High School. And so we did quite a bit of upgrades there. We celebrated with a ribbon cutting on Friday, October 8th. It was an exciting night with students, staff, our board of directors, community. We had alumni there. And we were able to just enjoy our students' performances, our alumni's performances and speeches, and they really reminded us of what it meant to be a Milwaukee High School Mustang. So again, for those of you that may have missed it, this is also on our website. And you can go and watch the full ceremony. And you see down on the bottom right hand, there's a little bit of a 1-minute clip of showing you the happenings that were happening that night. So we'll go ahead and watch that for a second before we move on. There's our principal, Gelman. And we had the Brown sisters who sang. They were alumni or graduates of Milwaukee High School. And so they flew in from Atlanta, Georgia, and just an amazing performance. Those are some of our student dancers and an alumni who spoke. And so, and our board chair and students. So pretty fun evening. You can go ahead and move to the next one, Shelley. Great. And here you see is our new urban high school. This is one of the district's school choice options, welcoming students into their building earlier this month. It's a site, it sits at the center of our historic Oak Grove community and will be serving many of our students for generations to come. Our ribbon cutting for this building is scheduled for November 9th at 2 o'clock. And so we're looking forward to students also participating. This is another one of those buildings when you drive by it, just absolutely gorgeous, stunning, vibrant with colors. And when you go in, it is a different feel for our students, and the pride and the joy that they have when they're walking the halls is quite evident. So love that. We have so much pride in honoring our very own Ethlyn Tumalad, if you have not heard, who was recently named and celebrated as Oregon's 2022 Teacher of the Year. Ethlyn prides herself as a role model for students, and she's a self-identified Filipino woman and immigrant. She sees her role in supporting students and finding their voice and recognizing the beauty of their diversity and being unapologetically themselves. And so Ethlyn will represent our school district and our students and our families this year. She will serve as a spokesperson and a representative for all Oregon teachers, and she'll receive year-long professional development and networking with other state teachers of the year through the National Teacher of the Year program. And so we could not be more proud of Ethlyn and what she has brought to North Clackamas School District. She's a teacher at Clackamas High School, and we've just been thrilled to celebrate her. I shared this slide with you. This is pictures from our CARE program, which is our after-school care for many of our community members. Our CARE program shut down last year due to the pandemic. And so this year we've been happy to reopen them. And we have a new site at Spring Mountain Elementary. We have 393 elementary students enrolled, representing, from all of our elementary schools and our virtual online. We currently have 106 students that remain on the waiting list, and most of this is due to staffing shortage. And so I just want to put out there, if you know anybody that's looking for a job that wants to work with our littles and would do a great job, please send them our way, send them to our website. We have many opportunities for families, and we'd love to get that waiting list down to 0 if we can get the staffing going for our community. But this is a much needed program, and hoping that we can continue to grow those numbers for our families in the district. And then here I will also share that this is our Family Support Center, our Wichita Center, which really has provided supports for our families in the community and prioritize their needs. They have continued to serve our community last year and this year, even when the going has gotten tough and when other agencies were not able to. And this has been done through a great deal of volunteering, a great deal of donations, whether that be money, food, just household items. And so just want to say thank you to those that have contributed in supporting, and for our families to know that this is out there. And we really are working hard to make sure, kind of like we've seen in some of the other places, that folks are taken care of with basic needs. So,
Shay, before we get to the next slide, thinking about food insecurity, has North Clackamas School District been able to use the CARES Act or any other act for the free meals for any student?
We have. So last year, we were actually able to deliver meals to families at their homes on our buses, kept folks employed, and also kept our families having food that needed it. We would deliver for a week at a time for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This year, we have free lunch for all of our students across our system. regardless of income. And so this has been a great support for our families. For those that are on our online program, we're holding food, I guess, places where they can come pick up on Wednesdays at 2 different locations, one on our east side of our district and one on the west side of our district. And so really trying to make sure that that families are fed, and then back up with our Wichita Center where we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to close with this, is that this has really been a theme for us throughout the year, is that one of the things that we've tried to do is make connections and really learn about each other's stories so that we can be united rather than divided. And so it's something that you'll hear from us throughout the years. We come with our communications letters and our information that's out there, is really trying to find that common ground and get to know each other, get to know who we all are, as we know that we're all interested in the health and welfare of our students, who are the up and coming generation of our community. And so in order to do that, the connection is one of the ways that we can get to know each other and support each other through that. So we'll go ahead and end there. And I also do not know how much time we have left, but Dr. Reggiani will help me answer questions.
So a couple news reports recently, not in Oregon, we're talking about students' reacclimation to classrooms and to being around students again. And the best way to describe it would be lack of manners, violence, assaults. Has that been experienced in any of your schools, or is the situation normal and the kids came back?
I'd have to say not the violence and assaults, unequivocally no on that. I would say students reacculturating to school, absolutely. My son is a senior in high school this year. He's our youngest. And one of the things that we were talking about was the last time that he had a full year of being in school was his freshman year. That was a long time ago. He's 18 now. So he at least had that full year. And our freshmen in high school, their last time was when they were in 6th grade. So they missed that time of learning how to be around peers before entering high school. And same for our youngers. That time away from school is that precious time where you learn how to be a community member and a class member, and you learn social norms and whatnot. So students certainly are learning those things. And it is not like, I would say, business as usual of how things typically were pre-COVID. But students are adapting and they're learning and they're re-socializing and they're finding their way. I would have to say, though, in North Clackamas, we are not seeing an uptick in any kind of capacity of that level of violence or whatnot that you were describing. That's just not our community and not our school culture. Our students are amazing and our staff is incredibly caring. And one of the things that you saw on Dr. Shea's slides initially was this commitment to reconnect. And I think it centers in that we recognize that our students are coming to us with a variety of experiences in COVID, some who had more isolation than others, some who had dramatic family impacts and others who had very minor impacts. And so coming back together and learning how to be a community together in the classroom is the first priority. Learning happens when there's safety in the classroom. So really setting that standard of safety in the classroom first has been our first priority. A lot of heavy emphasis on social emotional well-being and trust.
How is the school district picking up on the learning gap that we've read about that existed as a result of online learning versus in-person learning?
I think that for us, one of the things we focused on is in unfinished learning. Our students learned an incredible amount over our year and a quarter that we were in distance learning. And quite frankly, some of our graduation data really put an exclamation point on that. We were incredibly proud of what our students learned in spite of the conditions that they were learning under. And that's a testament to the strength of our students and our families and our staff. Additionally, though, we recognize that some students actually thrived in distance learning. So what can we take away from that and incorporate when we're back together? And then some of our students didn't thrive as much. So there is this unfinished business. A couple things that happened. This past summer, we instituted a very, very large scale summer program of about 5,000 students. So nearly a third of our population involved in summer programming, where they were not only re-engaging with academics, but they were re-engaging with in-person learning. And for some, they were like our littlest people. That was their first time being around other kids, which also included our oldest learners, an opportunity to re-engage and earn initial credit for high school or re-earn credits for high school if there were some missed opportunities. So there's a variety of approaches there that we had.
Thank you, Shelley.
Yeah.
Katie, question in chat.
Yeah, there's a question in chat. It says, how will the extra support money for students on IEPs work?
And we've got about 3 minutes left, please.
No, that's a great question. In terms of funding, so every student in the state of Oregon and per district, the district receives a per pupil allotment. It's not additional funding for students because necessarily of the pandemic. One of the things, if you have a student who has an individualized education plan, that's what IEP stands for. And that means that the student has a physical, an emotional, or a learning disability challenge that they're experiencing school, and the school district works with the family to create a specialized program for that student. Regardless of the funding, that is the goal, that together we work on those pieces, and the family alongside of the school team designs essentially what that program is going to be. How are we going to bridge that missed learning or that unfinished learning for that particular kiddo? So I would suggest that if a family had a specific question about their student and their student's IEP, to call a meeting with their IEP team at the school to really bridge that communication and learn specifically how is the school and the school team working together with the family and the student to bridge whatever unfinished learning is happening for that student.
Lindsay, did that take care of the question, or do you have a follow-up? She said thank you. So with that, Shay and Shelley, I'll say thank you so much. This was going to be an introduction tonight. My gosh. Thank you. I'll just say thank you. We're fortunate to have the two of you involved with the school district and the results that we see every day. So thank you guys. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And to that, I would also like to invite you when you can, when we're back to in-person full-time, to come and see some of the beautiful spaces, but at minimum to visit the virtual walkthroughs that we have online of some of the amazing spaces that we have in our schools that are definitely a part of the Sunnyside United Neighbors area. There are some amazing, amazing spaces where our students are learning.
Shelley, if it'd be possible for you to maybe send me an email with a link to those different walkthroughs. And if you could also provide a link that shows the boundary maps for the elementary, middle, and high schools in the CPO, that would be helpful to us as well.
You bet.
Okay, thank you so much. And with that, we'll switching topics again. This time, we're going to talk with the North Clackamas Park and Rec District Advisory Committee. So going back in time, in about 1990, the North Clackamas Park and Recreation District was formed as a result of passing the bond measure. And over that 31 years, there are a variety of different communication vehicles that were tried in order to provide and ensure citizen input. Some worked well. I'm now making things, I'm editorializing. Some worked well, some did not work well. And as a result of that, as the district was thinking about how they could better represent citizens, and as citizens approached the district and the Board of County Commissioners and how they wanted to be better represented, what was developed was an advisory committee or a district advisory committee. And what is the net result is there are now 4 sub-districts for about 83,000 people, or about 20,000 people per sub-district, plus the city of Milwaukee. 2 of those sub-districts can include parts of this CPO, sub-district 3 and sub-district 4. And so with us tonight are people from the District Advisory Committee. Dave Gillum has 2 hats on tonight. He's co-chair of the CPO, as well as being involved with the DAC. Luca is here along with Grover, and there's Jan. And they are all representatives for us on the DAC. The purpose of them being here tonight is twofold. One is to let us know what they're doing, because I thought you might be interested. And secondly is, are there ways that we can help them as representatives of us is there information that we could provide them that would be helpful to them to do their work? It's now 8:10. You've got until about 8:25, and then I'll cut you off.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. No pressure. Just right on with the time. Thanks. So thank you all for staying awake for our portion of this. We will try and keep it short and sweet. Let me just boot this up for you, and we'll get going. So it goes without saying that the District Advisory Committee is very much still in its early days. But I think one thing that we've already learned as a team is just how united a voice we can be. Just hearing from the school board as well, we've gone through a couple of years of divisions and separations and everybody in their pockets and stuff like that. So to have this sort of bringing together community aspect in the middle of all this has been so just sort of heartwarming for all of us. This has been a long time coming. I will not pretend to understand the journey that has gotten us to today. But I really appreciate the work that got the DIC to where it is. But if you take anything out of all of this, just understand that we're just a group of volunteers from a variety of walks of life, and we're truly passionate about making a difference. Case in point, I'm looking actually, apart from everyone that Mike talked about, I even see Anita on the other side. So we have almost half of our board here tonight with you. Because we really, really do care, including Grover, who we appointed as chair. So, at the end of the day, we're members of the community, just like you guys. And as a result, often our frustrations are the same ones that you have. And we're very, very privileged to work with the NCPID staff. These are people that live and breathe their roles 24/7. If you've ever had the chance to meet any of these individuals, you learn to very quickly appreciate what it means when somebody really loves what they do. And, their energy is very contagious. We recently acquired a new director, Michael Bork. Michael, if you have not had the chance to meet him yet, I'm sure you will at some point. He's quite a character. He comes from us, actually pulled him up. He has come to us through Alaska, Colorado, Missouri to come and be with us. But his other hat, and this sort of speaks to the sort of individual he is and how he sees NCPID moving forward, is that for those of you that have done public speaking or presentations, he was a president for Toastmasters International. He actually started a program that is called Laughtership. He is certified in what they call laughter yoga. So he is one of those people that understands the job's got to get done, but there's a certain way to do it and how to connect with people. So we're so privileged to have Mike as our leader. And, I've chatted to him a few times and he said, this is like drinking from a fire hydrant, trying to understand how all this works, right? So let's get on with this. So this has been a long time coming to try and keep it really straight and simple. The purpose that we have is to advise the board, and this is about the most broad statement you're ever going to read on a Zoom presentation. You will see that this covers pretty much everything that you can imagine. So case in point, we have a lot on our plates, but we're volunteers, part of the community. So our hands are sort of in all of this. So you look at it and go, okay, so how are we actually going to make a difference in all of this? Because this is quite the statement, right? So it's broken down into three main goals. As an advisory committee, to evaluate and address programs and facilities, to make recommendations at a policy level, and also to provide recommendations during the annual budget process. This is something I'm particularly looking forward to. It was actually also sit on the budget committee. So it'll be interesting to see both sides of the story this year. So we have a lot there, and a lot of what we're doing is learning how our roles are in all this, which is, still very developing, and, we're all sort of working it out. So how did this come to be? Mike sort of touched on it. So this is the NCPID district map as a whole, give or take a couple of adjustments. There are a couple of things here that are a bit outdated, but they basically took this map of 100,000 odd people and broke it up into the sub areas. We sit in sub area 3 with some overlap into 4, as Mike said. As you will see, for the most part, they split the population up pretty evenly. So this allowed each sub area to have a couple of representatives with a sort of fairly even coverage across the board. as a committee, we're about a dozen people. Zooming in closer to sort of the sub area 3 area, again, like I said, some of this is a little outdated. There's a couple of adjustments here, obviously, with developments with Happy Valley. This is sort of the pocket of the sub area 3 section. And just to sort of give you a bit more of an introduction into the group, I apologize to Grover and Anita. I wasn't sure you're going to be here, so your names will not be on the screen. But I have myself and Jan in sub area 3 and Dan obviously in sub area 4. It's only fair that I introduce myself first. Luca Dorito. Obviously from the accent, I was not born and raised in Oregon. I come to you via Australia, Italy, United Kingdom, and Canada. So if I go west one more time, I'm back in Australia or Hawaii.
Luca, I'm going to interrupt for just a minute. One thing I
Yep.
forgot, one thing I failed to do, and I apologize for that, was these volunteers on the DAC all were elected, and they were selected by the people within their sub areas. So each of them came to a variety of different community meetings. They presented, they introduced themselves, they talked about their history, their involvement, current involvement with the North Clackamas Park and Rec District, what they saw for the future, and then we as citizens voted to accept some of those, 2 of those people for each sub-district to represent us. So look, I'm sorry, I failed to do that to begin with. So thank you.
It feels like so long ago. I know it was just a few months ago, but that feels like a whole lifetime ago we went through all that.
But you guys, you stepped up, and it's important to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So yeah, so I now in Oregon, I work for Bank of America, so a bit out of the world. But before this in Canada, I actually worked for Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. That is the company that owns the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors and Toronto FC. The Raptors champions logo behind jersey behind me, I will proudly hang because it will never happen again. So, you know, I did that for 7 years with that company, and I got to see firsthand, you know, the scale at which sport and recreation brings a community together. You know, we were very proudly ran Special Olympics and all these sorts of events. And, you know, to see when facilities are built to last and are built with the user in mind more than some business partner in mind, that you can really do great things in your community. So super happy to be a part of this. It's very personal for me. We have a 2.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So the future of NCPID and its facilities and what it has to offer is personal for me, because this is going to be directly related to how I can raise my own family, which was the main drive for me applying to be a part of the board. Next up is my partner in crime, Jan. I know you're there somewhere. Oh, not yet, David. Gosh.
That's okay. I'm here.
Tell us about yourself. Well, tell everyone else about yourself.
Okay. I'm a retired educator. I was in education for probably close to 50 years. I've taught everything from 5th grade to doctoral students. I've trained teachers. I've trained administrators. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. And I'm an avid user of the swimming pool at Clackamas. And I'm a native Oregonian, but I have moved 26 times in my married life. I've lived overseas and in Hawaii, which we called overseas too. And I'm fascinated by the intense joy that people have about working with and for making Clackamas County the best and healthiest place to live for any age in Oregon.
There you go. And you all know David, we're going to make him introduce himself in like 20 seconds.
Hi, I live in the West Mount Scott area, and I'm in sub area 4, so which is partly on this side of 205 and partly on the other side of 205 outside of our CPO. I've lived in this area for since 1989, and I'm a chartered electrical engineer. And I won't say for how long, but I think I'll just leave it at that.
And Grover, I know you're out there. You want to say hi? Grover is our chair. I'm sure he'd like to quickly say hi to everybody.
I do, and yes, I do. And just to let you know, I suspect some people in your CPO may be in my sub area, which is sub area 1, because we go all the way out to 97th and 98th and 106th, and all the way up to Sunnyside. So, but be as it may, the main thing that we wanted to do in this was to be able to have representation throughout the entire district, and yet it's still one district. So what we're doing is getting eyes, and here's the important part. The only thing I want to speak to is we need input. Otherwise, it's just a small group of people trying to figure out what's best needed. And if you remember what Lucas showed you, our job is to advise the governing board of NCPRD, which is also the Board of County Commissioners, as to what are the needs or interests or concerns of the entire district. And so having more eyes out there hopefully will allow us to do more of that. And that's really all I was saying. It's been great doing this and looking forward to the steady growing and being beyond COVID.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grover. All right. So very, very quickly, a couple of major projects in the area, the Milwaukee Bay Park and the Concord property. Massive projects. Those that have come across Milwaukee Bay Park, it is already very pretty. The end vision for that will blow your mind away. We invite you to go to NCPID's webpage and look at that. The Concord property, that is a design schematic. This is on the cards to happen, and we'll watch this grow over the next few years. It does include a brand new gymnasium that does not currently exist. That will actually be attached to the outer wall, which is a great sort of little architectural touch. So, the 3 walls of the court will be glass, and then the 4th wall will actually be the exterior brick wall of the current building. So they've really got some big projects coming up down the path over the next few years. And these are the ones that you're going to hear about, not necessarily super close to home, but nonetheless, very much part of our community and what makes us who we are. So that said, what does this mean for our CPO, sort of looking ahead? Staff put these notes together for me, just sort of throw this out, just sort of understand some of the challenges that NCPID has and also ourselves as an advisory committee as to what we can and can't do straight off the bat, and timeline.
Lucas, so I'm not cutting you off. 2 minutes.
Yep. 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
All righty. All right, well, this is gonna be real quick. So, these are sort of our restrictions and what holds us, right? So we have some plans and some capital improvement plans, which are pretty old. The annual budget is what will guide us sort of year to year. The good news is that there are plans to update the capital improvement plan in 2021-22. So this is where we're really going to see some exciting opportunities for the public to be engaged. And they're also going to be initiating what they're referring to as a system plan. So this is where we're really going to go and reach out to the community and get some real feedback as to what the community needs. I think one that's close to home for us, that is the Justice property. For those unaware, it's a 3-acre property. We've had under NCPID ownership for 30 years or so. It is on 122nd on the west side, just north of Southeast Summers Lane. It's sat undeveloped since 93. It is currently not on our project list for 21-22. So these are the sorts of projects that have that strong community interest and has passionate advocates in the area. These are the sorts of programs where we can really be primed for public engagement to be part of the new implemented system plan moving forward. So how do you get in touch with us? Here it is. Mike, I promise there's only 2 slides left. If you want to know our future meetings, you can email that. That will put you on the distribution list for our meetings, so you'll know when they're coming up. The best way to contact the DAC is that email address there. Just so you know, if you email that, every board member and the equivalent staff members at NCPID, we all get that email, okay? So if you want to find a way to contact everybody real quick and make your voice heard, that's your magic email address, okay? This is all on the webpage as well. Our next meeting is coming up Wednesday of next week at 5:30 p.m., obviously on lovely Zoom. There you go. I squeezed it in, 8:25. Yes. There you go. So thanks for having the time. I know that there's probably a million questions out there, and you're as excited about this committee as we are. But the short and sweet is use that email address. Absolutely pummel us with information and feedback and input and all those things that you want. because that way, instead of coming to maybe 1 or 2 of us, you're hitting up the entire district committee at the same time, as well as the paid staff members at NCPID.
Look, if you want to send me an email with those 2 email addresses and how they should be used, I'll include that in a summary of tonight's meeting, along with the minutes that Earl has put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
There are a couple of things been put in chat. Do you have access to chat, Luca? Can you open it?
Yep. I think I have to start. Come on. Give me a second. It's making me stop sharing to be able to do it. Here we go. Da-da-da-dun. Oh, hey, Lindsay. Yeah, the Happy Valley and NCPID is one of those relationships that I think we're still learning ourselves. The collaboration, the feelings, the emotions. There's a lot going on between them. That is actually a great question, Mary. I would shoot that in the email, because I'm sure if there is anything going on, that our NCPID staff would jump on that straight away and let you know if something's going on. If not, I know one of the big struggles with the division with our friends in Happy Valley is you've now lost your aquatic park, right? You're no longer a resident of that. I know that's been a big struggle for a lot of people. I swim with the NCPID master swim team, and we see that struggle even with our own swim team, and to get classes for kids and things like that, because now NCPID residents fill up all those spots. Like the Boo Bash last Friday, we basically filled all the spots before anyone outside of the district could be a part of it. So I'm sure there's some big collaborations coming down the pipeline. How that unfolds, I will leave that to the capable voice of our director.
Okay, Luca, thank you. Katie, is there anything that we've missed?
No, there's
Okay.
no
Well,
raised hands and no other chat.
Okay, thank you so much. So in the 2 minutes we have left, because if nothing else, if I promise someone a meeting is going to start at a time and it's going to end at a time, it will not go beyond that time, because all of our time is valuable. So Luca, Dave, Jan, Grover, thank you guys for taking the time tonight and you're volunteering to be on this important group to revitalize our area. So thank you for that. For those that have joined us tonight, you've learned a lot. My gosh, from the sheriff's office to community health, to the school district, to Parks and Rec. All of these areas touch our lives in so many different ways. And we are fortunate to have so many skilled, gifted, and valuable people in these roles. I'm not going to use the word working for us, because we in fact are paying their salary, but let's say working with us to make sure our area is livable and fun and safe and educated and healthy. So with that, I will say thank you all so much. Earl will type up some minutes from the meeting. We'll add to them the links that Shelley's going to provide, the addresses that Luca's going to provide, a report that Rich has developed or that has gotten from the sheriff's office about what's going on in our area. And again, a reminder that our next meeting will not be until March of next year. But if you have ideas, if you have things going on, you want to provide input to your CPO, let us know. Please let us know. And when we have our election in March, please, there aren't a lot of contested positions, and we welcome you participating. So board, before I say thank you, is there anything that I've left off tonight? Mary?
I guess I just wanted to let people know that if they have any issues or concerns with land use, concerns around their property or that, that's one of the reasons why we were formed, was to help those people in the unincorporated areas to be able to have a place to get some assistance or support.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Earl, Carolyn, anything? Dave, anything? With that, I'll say, Katie, thank you again so much for being our moderator tonight. Very much appreciated. And everyone else, have a good evening. And if your sheriff, looks like you're still in your office, so I guess drive safely. Good night. And
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
All of our speakers